Hey there folks, it's Scott once again, and I'm coming back to you with another movie review. And this is of the 2019 film Alita, Battle Angel. And apparently this film is it's a cyberpunk action film that's based on the 1990s Japanese manga series, Gunnm, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And it was written that series was written by a guy named Yukito Kishiro, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And the film itself has been directed by Robert Rodriguez and produced by James Cameron and Jon Landau. And James Cameron also wrote the screenplay along with Laeta Kalogridis, if I'm pronouncing his name or her name correctly. And the film stars Rosa Salazar, Christoph Waltz, Mahershala Ali, Jennifer Connelly, Ed Skrein, Jackie Earle Haley, and Keean Johnson. And you have some, and there's also Jeff Fahey in a small role. And there's some uncredited roles which are brief. You have Edward Norton and Michelle Rodriguez and Jai Courtney in the film as well. And anywho, I'm sorry if I sound tired. I'm kind of am technically. I've been meaning to do this review for a while. And I really wanted to see it again for the third time because I have seen this film twice, and overall, I really enjoy this film. It's definitely one of the best films I've seen this year so far that I had no problem with. It's because I saw it more than once, and I want to see it again. And I wanted to see it at the Draft House again, but apparently that was yanked out, and I could have swore I saw a showtime earlier for 7:20 and 10:40 or something like that. And I didn't see it again after that, so I find that to be very odd that the Draft House, except for one, the majority of them have pulled that film out of its theaters, and it's a lot of Captain Marvel. Or I guess I'd like to call it Captain Bourville, which I have no fucking interest in seeing. And I guess that's overtaken a lot of its showtimes. I'm sorry, folks. You know what, Captain Marvel, Captain Bourville, fuck you, and fuck you, Disney. You're just trying to make sure that Alita doesn't succeed or even get more money. So kiss my ass. Sorry about that, folks. I just had to get that out. And overall, Overall, like I said before, I really do enjoy this film. And getting back to the part where I wanted to see it again, I sort of wasn't feeling that great. I had a runny nose, and I was at home after I got back from that hike, and I took something and knocked me out for an hour or so. But I'm okay for now. Less runny, so yeah. But anywho, getting back to the review, or the overall plot structure, basically, this film takes place in the 23rd century, and jeez, my throat's not clear. Anywho, there's this there's a lot has happened. It's 2563. It's there was apparently a great war in the fall that has the earth kind of devastated and somewhat in ruins a little bit, and there's this doctor named Dr. Dyson Ito, if I'm pronouncing him correctly, which is Waltz's character. He's basically, scrummaging the scrapyard, junkyard, whatever you want to call it, for certain parts. And he eventually comes into contact with a female cyborg with a fully intact brain. He's able to reconstruct it to a body that was meant for, you would later find out, for his daughter Alita, and he gives her that name. And basically, Alita wakes up with no memory or any recollections of her past. She starts to interact with the world, which is, kind of in a poor state. There's some people there that are friendly and not so friendly, and there's apparently a city above it known as Zalam, where it's a wealthy city and everyone wants to go there, and during this time, Alita interacts with this guy, and befriends a guy named Hugo, whom she, of course, befriends and gets to know whenever she ends up, playing some, like a scrimmage version of the Mortal Ball sports games, which you will later see in the film. And you also see her save this lovely little dog or puppy, whatever you want to call it, and she starts to understand life. Like she starts to like certain foods. Like she likes orange, even though she didn't eat it right at first because she ate the skin, and then of course she gets to taste chocolate and whatnot. And during this time that she gets to know Hugo and then compete with him in that little scrimmage mortar ball sports game, he dreams of going to the city of Zalman to live his dream. And meanwhile, apparently at night, there's apparently attacks going around where several women have been killed, and Ito persuades Alita to try to come back home at a certain time, even though whenever she was observing him one point, he came back home with a cut in his arm. We also see that Doctor himself is implementing certain robotic arms or legs on certain patients of his. And then one night she follows him because of the whole suspected murderers. She comes to find out that he's actually a hunter killer, I think. Let's see. Hunter Warrior, sorry, not Hunter Killer. I'm thinking of Terminator, sorry. It's funny, it's produced by Cameron, who directed Terminator. What am I thinking? Anyways, basically, he found out he was ambushed by these three warriors, the ones who were the cyborg serial killers that were responsible for these murders. They were led by Grucheska. Ito is actually injured, and apparently Alita instinctively attacks the cyborgs, killing two of them, and almost severely damaging Grucheska by kicking off his arm somehow. And by doing this brings about a certain memory of her back. Apparently, as she learns about herself, she apparently was some kind of soldier with a number of 99, with some great combat skills, and actually has this kind of an ancient martial arts skill as Panzerkunst, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And apparently she wants to be a hunter warrior, but Ito decides to discourage her from pursuing that type of career and just live a normal and happy life to basically start fresh. And then apparently the next day she interacts with Hugo again and with his friends, and they see a bit of the ship that's kind of submerged in water for the most part. And Alita goes in. She has the ability to access the mainframe, and she comes across this highly advanced cyborg body, or really suit, so to speak. And she wants to be able to be installed into that device. And of course, Ito learns that it's actually a berserker suit, which really enhances the abilities of her, making her a lot stronger, faster, and aggressive, and all the, like I said, it's highly advanced. But of course, Ito doesn't want it. Refuses to install it in her, and this, of course, kind of causes a rift between her and Ito. And eventually, Alita decides to register as a hunter warrior, along with Hugo, and they go to this bar where she kind of pleads with the other hunter warriors around that bar to take Grucheska down to stand up, but they flat out refuse because he's not on the wanted list. And then she comes across one of the hunter warrior named Zappin, played by Ed Skrein's character, who's basically arrogant, narcissistic, and kind of a douche, so to speak, and tries to basically jettison, and provokes Alita to try to prove if you really are a hunter warrior. She actually beats him up pretty good by breaking his nose, kicking him over there, and even kicks his own sword towards the side of his face, just showing how badass she really is. All the other hunter warriors see this, and they try to see if they can do better than him, but they can't. It triggers a chaotic bar brawl until Ito arrives to intervene, and then suddenly Grucheska appears upgraded, and the reason why he was upgraded because earlier he was fitted with the new some new weapons like the highly advanced knife blades that came from a different type of warrior. And we see that Hugo is actually kind of the scrap dealer that, captures them and secretly mugs the cyborgs for, body parts so that he can get money and save up and go up to the city of Zalem. But here, we find out that Shireen Connelly's character, the one that gave Grucheska the new upgraded system, is working for Victor and was actually once Ito's ex-wife. And the reason why she left is because their daughter Alita had died. And Alita was killed by this drunken patient of Ito's. And apparently Alita herself was handicapped, and that's why he had designed this body for her. And eventually he gave it to the cyborg brain, which he named Alita after his daughter. So, anywho, and getting into the bar scene. Basically, Alita and Grucheska engage in this combat, which is directed very well. And while, she has the courage and determination, unfortunately, the Grucheska's upgraded system, it cuts through her, cuts off all the legs and part of her torso and whatnot. But despite all that, Alita proves that she's very tough and hard and battle-hardened, and actually sticks one of her arms inside of Grucheska's eye, pulls it out, and eventually Fahey's character, McTeague, comes to his aid, because Grucheska killed one of the dogs that Alita had befriended and saved earlier. And as a result, Ito comes down and is able to take Alita and decides to upgrade her to her new advanced body, which definitely proves to be far more efficient than she was before, a lot faster, and has the ability to create flame. And then later on, you see it has the ability to self-heal as well. And so, as a result, Alita decides she wants to engage in the motorball sports activities, which is far more dangerous than what she practiced earlier with Hugo. And then as Ito oversees this and notices some things, the ones that are competing in this race are actually the hunter warriors that have been hired by Victor, because he's actually the one that rigs all these motorball machines and has the criminal connections. He basically manipulates the hunter warriors to take down Alita for $500,000 pretty much, and they all agree to try to do it. But once the race starts, she easily dismantles and kicks their ass, even though when she has to go help Hugo, who's on his way to see her, but he's in trouble because Zeppelin, Skrein's character, finds a little more about Hugo and his scrape dealings and mugs the cyborgs for their parts. He basically kills one of Hugo's friends and frames him and puts him on the wanted list so he can take him out. Eventually, Alita is able to dismantle the cyborgs that have followed her and then comes to Hugo's aid. And of course, she does learn the truth, but he claims that he never killed anyone. Zeppelin decides to make it even more harsher and more determined decision and fatally wounds Hugo. And of course, Alita takes him inside of this building while she's trying her best to see if she can save him and whatnot. Dr. Shireen Connelly's character happens to be there and has a change of heart and decides to help Alita since she's a doctor, she cuts off, somehow is able to cut off Hugo's head and transport it through Alita's heart and life support system somehow. To her support. When Zeppelin's able to see the trick and tries to steal Hugo's head, apparently all the other surrounding hunter warriors, and then apparently since he tried to take Hugo's head, apparently that's a violation of law, and as a result, Alita takes away his blade, Zeppelin's blade, and actually cuts his face off with it, which I thought was a cool scene. And eventually she takes him to Ito, and Ito's able to transport Hugh's head onto a cyborg body before apparently revealing to him that, despite the fact that he was saving up to, go to the city of Xalam, and was promised by Victor if he got enough money he would be sent up there. Apparently it was all a lie. And he basically, Victor fabricated that false promise that Hugo can eventually buy his way into Xalam. And we all know, and we all learned that Ito eventually was an exiled citizen of Xalam, and learned that that really up there was really not that much better, and that's why he eventually moved down here to start a new life and a new business of helping people. And apparently, he is definitely certain that you cannot enter the city of Xalam unless if they become a Mortal Ball champion. And eventually, when Alita learns this, she eventually storms into the factory and confronts Victor, and learns that Victor has actually, since Shirin decided that she didn't want to work with Victor anymore, her organs have, basically Victor has harvested her organs as a way of her being sent to Xalam, because she originally wanted to go there, but apparently, since she quit, he decided to send her to Xalam in a different, cruel way, of course. And as a result, when Victor also calls in Gruchesta to try to kill her, but this time, despite the fact that he shoots out another knife blade into her, the new nanomolecular body is able to self-heal, and he tries to shoot more blades. She cuts him off, and this time she defeats him with ease by using the sword and the fact that she can engulf flame, and she goes straight down the middle on Gruchesta, splits him in half, and then of course she confronts Victor even more further, and demands to actually see the person that is actually controlling him, and that's Nova. And he comes into play, basically taunting her and threatening her friends, and that sort of thing. And as a result, she fatally stabs Victor and tells him that he made the mistake of underestimating her, and that you just lost a puppet, because apparently Nova has the ability to transfer his consciousness into certain bodies that he finds desirable or whatever. And then eventually Ito contacts Alita to let her know that Hugo has escaped, and apparently there's been, of course, an arrest for him, and he's trying, and Alita eventually catches up to Hugo, who's basically walking on the cargo tube towards Xalam, and Alita basically convinces him that to return to her, and that they can somehow find a way to establish a life. And then Nova, who's of course watching this, activates some kind of serrated defense ring has a lot of it's very sharp and very let's just say it's serrated and has a lot of knives on there. Eventually it kind of shreds the body, but Alita is able to avoid it, and as he's falling down, Alita is able to put the sword in the tube and grab onto Hugo, but unfortunately he's falling apart and not able to hang on. But before falling to his death, he does thank her for believing in him and saving his life and giving him a chance to look at things differently. And then of course he falls to his death, and she's devastated by it. But months later, Alita's pretty much the star athlete at the Mortal Ball tournament, and as the crowd cheers, she actually points the sword towards the city of Xalam, and we see Nova's observing this, and he actually takes off his glasses and kind of smirks. You actually see his eyes, and that's actually Edward Norton's character as it's revealed. So yeah, and that's basically how your film ends. So I'd say, like I said before, overall I really do enjoy this film. I mean, I'll get to the cons and pros like I usually do. In the cons, I guess the thing is that there is some pacing issues with this film, and I feel like towards the end of the second half, the narrative is a bit clunky, I guess you can say, and Alita doesn't seem to do much even when she gets that new upgraded suit, I mean, she does have that cool badass moment when she's able to take out the hunter warriors at ease with the... I felt like not very much happens in the second half. And I guess the love story between her and Hugo was... It's not badly acted, but I felt like it's a slightly less believable. And I really can't think of any other flaws. But I'll get to the pros. The action sequences are done very well. It's a no-brainer for Robert Rodriguez. He knows how to direct action, and I've seen a lot of his films, and he knows how to do action very well. And this is a very action-heavy type of film. Apparently, I think in the manga series, apparently they were a lot more cerebral and a lot more story and narrative to it. Here, it's been, I guess, kind of, I would say maybe somewhat dumbed down. I guess I haven't really read the manga series, so I don't know if it's how good the manga series is. I'm sure it's very well written and tells a very cohesive and concise story. So, but here the action is handled very well, and the acting is definitely not the problem. It's got some good actors. The acting is very believable, even if the whole relationship between Alita and Hugo isn't the greatest that I've seen. But it's very well developed, and they have pretty solid chemistry. And I like Christoph Waltz. He plays a very likable character. He's a doctor that really helps the poor by giving them new limbs, legs, whatever they might be. You know what? Now that I think about it, I'm kind of disappointed how the character shift with Connelly's character is kind of unexpected. But I guess it's slightly believable. But for the most part, she's kind of a little distant and kind of cold towards Ito. Then apparently she has a change of heart, and that seemed to come out of nowhere, so I guess that's another kind of con. But overall, I think the film is definitely unapologetic for being action-heavy, and it does the action sequences very well. Like, she's able to take out two of the hunter warriors earlier that ambushed Ito very well, and those are badass moments. And there's even a badass moment where apparently she has courage and determination, even though she does lose a good part of that battle to the upgraded Grucheska. And the fact that even though she's cut up and he grabs her by the head and kind of taunts her, she's able to, like I said, put one of her fist through the guy's eye, and part of her hand gets pulled out of there. Or not hand, but the arm. It's a very bold move by her. And it seems like after that, there wasn't as much action. But the mortar ball sequence that she was in, it was done very well. And the way she defeated them, and the way it was shot and edited, it was done very well. It's a great action sequence. It's definitely keeps you entertained in that area. But I felt like the final battle between her and Grucheska could have been done a little more. Could have been a little more. Other than him just shooting a bladed finger into her, to like the side of her. And then I felt like the battle should have gone on a little bit more between them. Because, of course, when it's revealed that the body has a I'm sorry, folks. I'm a little tired. A nanomolecular kind of healing factor. She's able to cut the wrist blade knives, shot at her with ease, and of course, like, she splits them up, which is cool. But I felt like there should have been a little more of a battle between them. But I think it developed the character very well of Alita, because it's a hero's journey. It did its job, and it did it very well, even though there is some clunky issues with its narrative and pacing towards the second half. But overall, I think it's definitely worthy of another viewing, maybe a third time, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see it this time tomorrow at an early bird showing, and I definitely will enjoy that film once more. And it certainly deserves it more than Captain Barville, as I like to call it. And I guess you can say another pro to this is Robert Rodriguez's direction and how he's gone and how he's done it. And he's very confident. He knows what he wants. He gets the action sequences at ease. he's able to get the actors to churn in good performances, and yeah, it's definitely well worth it if you ask me. Other than the slightly disappointing second half, it's definitely worth the price of admission, and you should definitely, if you haven't seen it, go see it before it completely disappears. It's too bad that it's not doing well in the States. It's so far made like 80 million. Overseas it's doing very well, and hopefully we will get a sequel, because apparently this is the final film that was produced by 20th Century Fox before they were bought out by the Disney merger. And I have a feeling that they're going to try to make this another PG-13 sequel and whatnot, because I believe this film was rated R. If that's the case, it's a very well done film. What else could I say that was really good about this? I don't know. Overall, I say give it a chance. If you haven't seen it, watch it. If you've seen it and you like it, see it again. It deserves to have a sequel, because apparently it's setting up for maybe a slew of sequels, I think. So, because apparently I didn't know Edward Norton wasn't even in this film, and when I saw it, I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. The Edward Norton cameo was kind of a surprise there, and I think if we do get a sequel, we'll definitely be seeing more of his character for sure. But yeah, overall, solid movie, and it's definitely worth a repeated viewing, so go see it. I highly recommend it. Okay, I'm going to end it right here, and I'm going to be doing another review for another underrated film that I like, Leviathan. So that will be next. Alrighty, folks, I will see you later. Bye-bye.